The heartbeat of Dub Nation is skipping in a way we haven't felt since those fraught finals moments when everything victory and heartbreak hung in the balance. Because right now, the Golden State Warriors' future is on a razor's edge. Caught between the ghosts of their Splash-era dominance and the brutal realities of a shifting NBA landscape that demands reinvention or heartbreak. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with Splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. The Warriors, who revolutionized basketball over the past decade through an airtight blend of lethal shooting, relentless pace, and a daring embrace of small ball lineups without a prototypical elite center, stand today at a crossroads where the innovations of the past might no longer be enough, especially as Father Time inches closer on Stephen Curry's extraordinary prime. The whispers swelling from inside league circles and the Sports Illustrated vault suggests a seismic shakeup is brewing, a bold, blockbuster trade that could pivot the entire franchise trajectory, swapping out sharpshooting wing pieces Buddy Hield and Moses Moody for Brooklyn's rising 6', -11 center. Nicholas Claxton, a gritty rebounder averaging over 7 boards per game the past 3 years. A player whose combination of size, athleticism, and defensive potential might fill the long vacant starting center role Golden State so desperately needs. Can you feel the tension? This isn't just a transaction. It's the potential unraveling of a decade's worth of sacrifice and dreams in pursuit of the elusive balance between present glory and future stability. Moody, a former lottery pick at number 14 in 2021, has flashed promising talent with nearly 10 points and a respectable 37% mark from deep. But the Warriors' salary cap gymnastics could force them to part with sharpshooter Buddy Hield to maintain their offensive firepower. Brooklyn is playing the long game too, passing the torch with Claxton off their timeline while snapping up young wings eager to prove themselves, like Moody. And this trade emerges as a win-win in theory, but it's the Warriors who might be taking an all-in gamble to protect their championship window as Steph's twilight approaches. Yet, while whispers circulate about Claxton's arrival, the real emotional tempest swirling around Golden State is Jonathan Kuminga, a lightning rod of untapped potential, frustration, and front office calculation, whose fate remains the thorniest dilemma threatening to unravel the very fabric of this team's blueprint. His off-season saga a labyrinth of stalled sign-and-trade talks, a constricted market unloved by teams, wary to swallow long-term cap hits amid the NBA's cruel tax apron realities, has stretched into an agonizing stalemate. The Phoenix Suns, long courting Kuminga since the Durant trade deadlock, find themselves hamstrung, unable to execute a seamless salary swap due to the sticky contracts of veterans like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, both carrying hefty years left and resistance. From Golden State to absorb such baggage, Kuminga's camp stubbornly clings to hopes of a lucrative long-term deal, eyeing a contract in the $30 million annual range, while the Warriors remain steadfast around $20 to $23 million, a gulf that feels like a chasm threatening to become a canyon. And therein lies the drama. Kuminga, a supremely athletic forward, once the glowing heart of Golden State's young talent pipeline, now finds himself at a crossroads, longing for a fresh start where he can truly command starter minutes. Yet tethered to a franchise caught between legacy and a rebuild's uncertainty. The fronts are still lining up in Chicago and Sacramento, with rumors swirling that the Bulls or Kings could become landing spots for the young phenom. Yet nothing is finalized, a limbo that suffocates potential and feeds the fire of frustration. For fans who witness glimpses of greatness in his rookie and sophomore campaigns, it's heart-wrenching because we know the stakes. Think back to the 2022 championship season when Kuminga's roller coaster saw flashes of elite scoring and tenacity, only for the arrival of Jimmy Butler last December to blunt his minutes and dim his developmental trajectory. Steve Kerr, a coach hailed for his championship pedigree, but now under fire from voices like Kendrick Perkins, stands accused of stifling rather than nurturing the potential comet that is Kuminga. especially when Perkins calls out the decision. To bench him at the very dawn of the 2025 playoffs decisions that reverberate far beyond the court, shaking the trust of a fan base who craves clarity and commitment. Perkins' electric indictment. Steve Kerr is holding these guys back. Strikes at the core of what might be unraveling inside the Warriors' locker room. A clubhouse once synonymous with unshakable belief and relentless champion grit. The fallout of this mismanagement can't be overstated. A team built on the hard lessons of the post-Durant vacuum. After shipping out James Wiseman in less than 2 seasons despite his sky-high potential, and drafting Kuminga and Moses Moody. With hopeful eyes, instead of flipping the picks for an established star to keep the championship window wide open. Now, the consequences loom like a storm cloud, threatening to eclipse the dynasty's fading sun. But here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. The whispers surrounding D'Anthony Melton's impending return to the Bay Area are gaining steam, a storyline loaded with hope and unfinished business. Melton, who came into the Warriors lineup last season with abundant promise before a cruel partially torn ACL cut short his ascent, has reportedly healed fully and stands on the precipice of re-signing with Golden State for the 2025-26 season. Brian Windhorst teases that the Warriors are near sealing deals with Melton and veteran center Al Horford, signaling a swing back to roster stability once the Kuminga drama finds resolution. Melton, a tenacious defender and reliable secondary scorer, may not be the star flashpoint like Curry or Clay, but his energy and attitude have left a lasting imprint on the team and its culture since arriving. Draymond Green's glowing tribute praising Melton's infectious positivity, effort, and presence as irreplaceable proves how integral Melton's role was in Golden State's brief taste of mid-season success before the lineup faltered post-injury. Melton's 6-game run saw him average over 10 points a night, coupled with 1.2 steals and just under 3 assists, highlighting a multidimensional player who brought glue-guy toughness and attitude. Can his return ignite a spark that the Warriors desperately need? It's the kind of feel-good, stabilizing move that could serve as the counterweight to an off-season swirling in uncertainty. Meanwhile, the scarcity of cap space and reluctance from organizations to absorb long-dated contracts are tightening the noose on Golden State's maneuverability, putting every decision under a microscope and amplifying every ripple into a wave. Off scrutiny. In the crucible of this offseason, with rookie contracts expiring and restricted free agents like Josh Giddey, Quinton Grimes, and Cam Thomas all still unsigned in a dry, cautious market, the pressure on the Warriors' front office to make deft, shrewd moves becomes unbearable. The franchise that once defined modern basketball through unyielding, we believe, spirit and splash-era three-point barrages is now forced to reconcile past glory with the stark reality of an evolving league hungry for size, defense, and consistency. How do you pivot when your greatest weapon, Steph Curry, who's rewritten records and redefined what it means to be a generational talent, is approaching that inevitable slowing point? Will the arrival of Claxton inject the interior toughness defensively the Warriors have long lacked? Or will trading away shooters like Hield and Moody sap the offensive dynamism and spacing that made the Splash Brothers era so deadly? Will Kuminga's departure or retention become the true fulcrum of this team's fate? Kendrick Perkins' challenge to the organization feels more like a call to arms. At what point are we going to hold the Warriors accountable? It's a reflection of how the Bay Area's pride is braced against the tide of frustration, with the franchise's future set to hinge on razor-thin margins of negotiation and vision. The season ahead may be a make-or-break moment, not just for a roster, but for a dynasty still gasping for breath and an identity. The true test will be whether Golden State can find the magic to recalibrate, to blend the wisdom of championship experience with the youthful hunger of players like Melton and, hopefully, Claxton, while resolving the Kuminga enigma. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this because we're perched at the edge of something monumental or catastrophic. Is this the ignition point for our next title run, or the crack that splits our legacy forever? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If the crushing weight of this offseason, the swirling rumors, and the gut-punch trade possibilities have you pacing your room like every decision could be the thread that unravels the whole tapestry, then pause right now and scream into the void how you really feel, because Dub Nation's heartbeat just went from steady thunder to a full-on seismic rumble. And we all know this is no ordinary crossroads. Because here's the raw truth: the Golden State Warriors blueprint, the one that shattered paradigms and rewrote the basketball rulebook with Steph Curry's transcendent range and Draymond Green's defensive genius, is cracking under the cold pressure of a league that's grown bigger, faster, and hungrier for dominance inside the paint. And this Claxton trade chatter isn't just noise. It's a harbinger of the seismic shift that could either resurrect the dynasty or accelerate its inevitable fading into legend. You see, bringing Claxton aboard means finally plugging the gaping hole that Wiseman's injury and departure left him after bruiser who can patrol the rim with the kind of presence that Golden State's defenses have lacked since the Draymond Kerr small ball experiments began rewriting the playbook. But at what cost? Giving up Buddy Hield and Moses Moody isn't just surrendering wings. It's trading two of the team's most promising shooters, two players who at least provide hope that the Splash era's lethal spacing won't dissolve into a mid-range muddle or isolation chaos. And for real, Moody's flashes of growth were supposed to be the bridge between the fading glories and the next wave. Trading him feels like gambling with the franchise's very DNA. Meanwhile, Buddy's prodigious catch-and-shoot was critical. Remember those crucial back-cut threes that stretched defenses to the breaking point? Without them, how do we keep a weary Steph from being double-teamed every possession, forced to battle exhausted while carrying this team's soul on his mighty shoulders? And then there's Kuminga, the wild card, the question mark that all of Dub Nation knows could be either the franchise's next superstar or its most soul-crushing regret. His all-season stalemate isn't just contract talk. It's a battle over identity, potential, and patience. Watching him wrestle with his place in the rotation, the hard truth that Jimmy Butler's arrival last year pushed his minutes into a drainpipe is like watching a comet slow down just as it should be blazing brightest. Does the front office have the guts to commit to him, to tell him you're our future? Or will they cut him loose, watching his immense physical gifts ignite under another banner, while we cling to fading glories and transient veterans? Steve Kerr's coaching decisions ring louder than ever. Perkins's fiery critiques peel back the veneer of calmness to expose a team straining under conflicting visions. Is Kerr adapting to this brutal new NBA or clinging desperately to the system that won championships a half-decade ago? From limiting Kuminga's minutes in the playoffs to juggling veteran rotations, every choice feels like betting on desperation or wisdom, something we can't afford to get wrong. And what of the locker room chemistry? Draymond's voice has always been the emotional engine, but even his fire seems tempered, maybe worn. The arrival of veterans like Al Horford and the possible return of Melton, who brings the kind of gritty defense and energy this team hooks on the mid-season runs, hints at a recalibration toward balance and toughness. Yet, can these middle-tier role players truly compensate for the loss of youth's raw athleticism or the fading spark of our core champions? The weight on Steph Curry is enormous, more monumental than any shooting guard in history has carried not just the points and the deep threes, but the symbolic leadership of a team at the cliff's edge of its dynasty. Do we have enough around him to support the twilight of his brilliance, or are we forcing legend to buckle under the pressure of a roster that asks too much? And here's a thought that chills the spine. What if this offseason isn't just about contracts or trades, but the unraveling of a dynasty in real time? From 5 straight finals appearances to a silent, creeping crisis that even the most stoic Warriors fans find hard to shake. Could this be the moment where everything fractures, the balmy magic gives way to bitter fallout? Or flip the script. Could this Claxton addition, combined with Melton's return and the eventual resolution of Kuminga's status, Be the secret alchemy that reignites the fire, blending championship wisdom with raw, fresh legs and a defensive backbone that finally smothers the bruisers who have exploited us for years. Imagine the Chase Center packed, the crowd roaring not just for the splash but for the stifling defense, for the alley-oops all pick and rolls with an actual imposing big in the middle. Imagine Steph with another gear, space carved out by shooters, who survived the culling, bringing out the nastiness in defenses now forced to respect size where before they only feared speed and shooting. That scenario? It's the last thread of hope we cling to. But what if none of it comes together? What if the front office's gamble on Claxton backfires because the offense collapses without the spacing? Or Kuminga is shipped out for scraps and blossoms elsewhere? What if Melton's return isn't enough to patch the holes, and Steph's magic finally hits the wall of Father Time's inexorable march? That's the nightmare, the crushing weight that presses on every Warrior's heart tonight. I'm somebody who has leaned into every heartbreak, the 2019 Finals collapse, the Durant drama, the toxic whispers of the post-championship drain, but also who has cheered every parade, every buzzer beater, every sidestep three that left opponents gasping. And right now, I feel it's something seismic is shifting beneath our feet. A storm brewing that could either wash away the old guard for good or carve a new path to glory written in grit and reinvention. We're not just witnessing roster moves. We're at the emotional apex where legacy, identity, and the brutal truths of an evolving league collide. So here's the challenge to every diehard out there. Drop your realest, rawest takes below. Tell me, is this the moment we rise from the ashes, drafting new myths and legends, or the sunset of what was once basketball's most dazzling dynasty? No filter, no holding back. I'm right there in the trenches with you, battle-worn and heart-flared, ready to debate, rage, and dream. Because for Dub Nation, this offseason isn't just a story, it's our destiny unfolding in real time.